And after talking about how we have a sin problem and how God has addressed that sin problem through Christ and how forgiveness is available to us, John wanted to make sure his readers didn't misinterpret what he was saying. So, in the very first verse of the next paragraph, and by the way, John didn't put these paragraphs or chapters in his writings. It all ran together. They were added later on. But he begins by saying, "My little children, I am writing these things to you that you may not sin." And I think it's important to read that statement after verses 5 through 10 to make sure that we don't take sin lightly. It's a very serious thing. And he talks about how it's important that we not sin. But if we do, or probably more accurately, when we do, we have an advocate. And then we're going to just look at that in our study next week in chapter 2, probably verses 1 through 5 or 1 through 6 next week. Okay, what do you see in this last paragraph of chapter 1? What about it raises questions to you, or what does it say to you in your walk? Yeah, Pansy.
Um, when you were talking about God is light, about showing his splendor and majesty and glory, he did that in Genesis chapter 1. Those were his first words, "Let there be light."
That's right. That's right.
So, and I thought that was interesting that I made that connection, against the Lord was showing me that. It's like, yeah, he showed he was God from the beginning. And when I think about light, I also think that he's not heavy. How something is light versus darkness is heavy.
Yeah.
Because in Matthew 11, verse 30, it says, "My yoke is easy and my burden is light."
I haven't thought about that. That's a good analogy. Yeah.
Yeah, I've thought about that. Several years ago, that he's light. He's not heavy.
Yeah. Good.
So,
yeah. Well, what do you think the average person in our world today, especially in the culture of our where we live, our country, when they hear the word sin, what's their reaction to sin?
most of them brush it off. They don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Deny the reality of it. Yeah.
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 I know I've heard some preachers say, "You're not a sinner saved by grace." I thought, last time I checked, I am. I'm a saint. I'm a sinner
Yeah.
saved by grace. To me, that's two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
I still have that old sin nature that you talked about. My grandpa used to say, the disease of sin will always be with you till you take your last breath, but the sins that we commit are what's being forgiven.
Right.
He said we still have that, old sin nature in us, even though, we have been saved by the blood of Jesus.
Right.
That's why we have that battle between the spirit and the flesh.
I think our culture, the definition of sin has changed.
Yeah, definitely, Bob. Yeah, definitely.
Well, I believe if you ask someone what sin is, they would go, "I don't know."
Yeah.
So many of them that they don't know.
Yeah.
Or they say they don't know because they don't care to know.
Yeah. I think for a lot of people, sin just in their mind an archaic word that belongs to a different generation, different time. Those who do have a concept of it, I think of it in terms of really evil, big, bad things. And even Christians, I think, sometimes struggle with that because we tend to run to the worst possible cultural things we can think of. We hear the word sin, but really, I've shared with you before that the basic word for sin, just means to miss the bullseye. That's what it means. I mean, if it just means that if you can imagine a target with a bullseye, and you shoot an arrow at it, you might miss it by uh, eighth of an inch, but you missed the bullseye. And what it means is to fail to measure up, to fail to be what God intended for us to be when He made us. And all of us fall short of that. All of us do.
And if you hit the bullseye the next 10 times, that doesn't offset that first one.
You still missed it. Yes, that's right. Yeah. That's good point, Bob. Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to share tonight? I don't want to belabor it, but I don't want to rush you either. Anything else you want to share tonight? Okay. Well, let me encourage you to be reading verses 1 through 6. I think I'm looking at my Bible here. I think that's where we'll go next week. That's the first paragraph in chapter 2. And we'll deal with that next week, and it may go a little further, but I think those 6 verses we'll do it next week. So if you can read ahead, and we'll jump in again next week. Okay.
Thanks, Larry.
Hey, good to see everybody tonight. Everyone,
Thank you.
glad you made it.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, Larry.
I try to remember.